Hello everyone, welcome to today's IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm broadcasting to you from Budapest, capital city of Hungary here in Central Eastern Europe. Thank you everyone for joining in on today's class, and I'm welcoming a new member here right at the start, Rajesh Gote. Thank you for becoming one of our new members. Make sure to send me an email so I can hook you up with the exams that we use in these live classes and some other goodies. So I'll show you my email address here in a second. All right, everyone. So as usual, our materials are coming from our websites for academic IELTS. Check us out at aehelp.com. And for general IELTS, be sure to join us at gieltshelp.com, where we have lots of great materials for you to improve your band scores, lots of skills, tricks, strategies, interactive exams, lots and lots of videos. So definitely go there, check it out, and start your journey on mastering the IELTS exam. Techno, lazy, good luck on your exam tomorrow. I hope you do well. Remember, just stay calm, get a good night's rest the day before, wake up fresh in the morning, go to your exam early, and just relax. Don't panic. You've done everything you can. You can't learn English in the next 24 hours more than you already know, so just be confident. All right, if you go to the Google Play Store or iTunes, you will find our app, Academic IELTS Help. Look for this logo, download it. There's also some free goodies there for you. And you can buy our exam books in paperback hard copy in many places. I believe in India it's just electronic versions from Amazon. Search for AE Helps Academic IELTS or GE Helps General IELTS, and you'll find our two different exams for each of those. All right, so if you have questions about our products, comments, concerns, you need some help, or about IELTS, you can always send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. So Rajesh, please send me an email there so I can hook you up with our exams for becoming a member on our YouTube channel. You can also get writing, editing, and speaking help on our websites for the speaking and writing sections of IELTS. Good to see so many members jumping in on the class. Hi Mohammed, hi Shanu, hi Rahul. Good to see you. All right, so here's a little bit of a look at our schedule for the next few days. We're looking at a writing task 2 sample today. Tomorrow, we'll look at some speaking practice, focusing especially on part 2, the cue card. And then on the 30th, we'll do a members chat on request class. Hi, Pushab. So make sure to tune in for that, members. All right, so here's our task 2 question. We'll take a look at this in just 1 second. Before we do that, a quick peek if you're looking for our websites. If you're looking for General IELTS, gieltshelp.com, look for this green background. If you're looking for our Academic IELTS, look for the blue background at aehelp.com. All right, that's all for my preamble. Now let's get right into this lesson. So as many of you know, writing task 2 takes 40 minutes. It is worth 2/3 of your writing mark, so it's very important that you use 40 minutes for task 2. There will be a clock in the exam room. So after you spent 20 minutes on task 1, stop what you're doing and go to task 2, okay? It's very important. And of course, you have to write at least 250 words. Sometimes when students see a task 2 essay that's more than 250 words, they freak out. They go, oh man, that's more than 250 words. No, that's okay. The problem is if it's less than 250 words. If you write less than 250 words, you start to lose band scores for incomplete task. The IELTS people expect that you can write at least 250 words in the 40 minutes. Most native English speakers at a high school level can write that much in 40 minutes, no problem. So if you write 250 words, that's great. If you write 300, even better, especially if you're going for high band scores, band 7, 8, 9. Essays are often more than 250 words. Don't write too much. Focus on quality. Quality is more important than quantity. If you can only write 200 words of good quality writing, it's better to do that than write 250 words of poor quality writing. That will get you a lower score than 200 of high quality, okay? Let's take a look at the question for today. Let's go through the important steps of preparing your answer, making sure you understand what's going on here. So, first things first, let's read the question. That's always how you should start off, of course. So, task 2, write about the following topic. Some experts believe that it is better for children to begin learning a foreign language at primary school rather than secondary school. Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? Always pay attention to the actual question here. So it's not to what extent do you agree or disagree. It's not discuss both views. In this case, the question is asking you, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages of the situation, okay? And then, of course, give reasons for your answer. Include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Write at least 250 words. This part of the question is also very important. Sometimes students say to me, oh, my teacher told me not to include personal examples. That's wrong. You don't need to listen to me. You don't need to listen to your teacher. You just have to focus on the question. It says give relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. So if you see that word, your own knowledge or experience, the question is directly asking you for explanations and examples from your experience. Okay, so it is very important that you include those examples into your body paragraphs from a personal point, which is first person, I, me, my, using that language. Of course, don't use the word you. We are not talking about the examiner or the marker's experience or the reader's experience. We're talking about your experience. So please don't use the second person voice. It is considered bad writing, and you will lose band scores if you write you into your essay. Okay, so be very careful about that. All right, so for some of the students that watch these live classes regularly, what do you do after you read and visualize this question? So of course you should be picturing this, seeing the images in your mind, picturing children learning another language like English, French, Mandarin in elementary and middle school, high school. You're thinking about what's the benefits, what's the negatives. So what should you do? All right, so there we go. A lot of students are saying, well, you should try to paraphrase the question right away. So even if it's a simple question, don't skip this step. It's very valuable. You make sure that you haven't misread or misunderstood the question. So of course, the first step is to paraphrase. So go ahead, students, paraphrase this question. Paraphrasing means to restate the question using different words, okay? So paraphrase this question, okay? So here's mine. Please write yours as well. Try to maybe not look at mine while you're thinking about yours. You want to do this, me too, G, before you identify the topic and controlling idea, okay? That will be your second step. There's no point in identifying the controlling idea or topic before you paraphrase, because if you misread the question or misunderstood it, then you might be identifying the wrong topic and controlling idea. So paraphrase first. Okay, collect the valuable vocabulary for the essay. Make sure you understand it. So certain professionals ascertain that it is optimal for youth to acquire a second language in elementary and middle school instead of high school. Are the benefits more than the deficits? Okay, so even paraphrasing that last piece of that question is really useful because it reminds me that this question is targeting advantages outweighing the disadvantages rather than something different like discuss both views. Okay, so I see a couple of paraphrasings coming up. That's great. Good for you, Ganim and Riza. So Ganim says, some researchers think that it is more beneficial for children to start studying another language at elementary stages in school. The school is very important there, instead of high school, okay? Ganim, that's excellent. Yours is fairly different from mine. It's different from the original question. Some great additional vocabulary there, and definitely you're on par with the question. Make sure that you do take that extra couple seconds to paraphrase that last element, just as I said, to make sure that you're not approaching it from a different direction, okay? Riza says, some specialists, another synonym, they're very good, argue that it is beneficial for children to learn a foreign tongue, nice paraphrase there, starting at a young age in grades 1 to 7 instead of grades 10 to 12, okay? So getting into some quantitative language there, Riza, a little bit of adjustment near the end, but otherwise, again, a nice paraphrase. Okay, let's read one more, and then we'll get into the rest of this. So Rahul says, many experts think that it is good for children to get enrolled in learning a second language in elementary school, add that word school, rather than high school. Middle school is usually still considered a part of primary school. Secondary school, in the West anyway, is usually grades 11 and 12, sometimes grade 10, okay? Naveen, Mohammed, those are some good paraphrasings as well, but I got to putt along here, so let's go to that step number 2 in your planning, which is identifying the topic, okay? So what is the topic here? What's the best way to coin or phrase the topic? All right? It's a fairly simple question, but identifying this topic is maybe a little bit tricky. So what is the topic? What are we really talking about? So what are we talking about here? So Rashni says we're talking about language learning. Learning a foreign language, says Mohammed, adding the word foreign. Manisha agrees with that. Hi, Manisha. Yeah, the word foreign is definitely important because, of course, we all learn our native language, so not to be confused with a second language or foreign language. Yeah, and I would add one more word to make the topic absolutely accurate. Jeffrey says children learning a new language. That's kind of the same. I would say foreign language learning at an early age, okay? So I would add in the word early age here. In school maybe even, so it's a fairly long topic here. We're not talking about learning it at home or outside of school. So the topic is learning a foreign language at an early age in school. Okay, and your topics are pretty close if you're saying learning a foreign language. I think it's important to focus on that early age as well. But if you don't have that, it's not the end of the world. I think you can still do fairly well as long as you don't forget that component, okay? What's the controlling idea here? So according to this question, how can we think about the controlling idea? What controls the content of this specific question they're asking you? And that's a very important point to focus on, because if you're just writing an essay about learning a foreign language or even learning a foreign language early, you might not get a very high score, even if you have great grammar and good information, because you're not going to be quite on topic. So absolutely you need to focus in on the specifics of this question. So Moshini says the controlling idea is age groups. And Jeffrey says, well, the question is asking us, are the good more than the bad? Yeah, so that's a key element of the controlling idea, is this part of the question, right? The advantages outweighing the disadvantages. So the controlling idea here is it better to learn second languages early or not? We can state it like that. Okay, and then again, you need to practice this planning at home. So please don't expect that you're listening to these live streams or you're using our websites and then simply you just walk into the IELTS exam and poof, no problem, this all comes into being and you can go through these steps. It's really important that you practice this at least 5, 6, 7, or even more times at home, so you can not only do it well, but so that you can do it quickly, okay? All right, Gagandeep, be aware that this is just the planning stage. You spend about 3 minutes on this before you begin your actual writing. By doing this, you will write a much better essay much faster. So you're not wasting 3 minutes. You're actually saving a lot of time and band scores by doing this. So the controlling idea is this, and then you go through, of course, the what, why, how. Students who watch the class frequently know that these are the correct questions in critical thinking to really get a good grasp of what you're going to write. So think about these what, why, hows as I'm writing this up. Okay, so what is a foreign language at an early age? Learning, and this is where you want to start, of course, focusing in on your quantitative information, not just qualitative. Quantitative means that you can count it. You need to make it clear for your reader. So learning a second language, not native to the country, before the age of, let's say, 13, okay? So that's what we're talking about in classes, in school classes. Again, very important not to forget that point. Okay, we're talking about school here. They didn't just say learning at an early age, but learning in school. Why? So why would we want to learn a second language early on in school? So why do we want to do that? What's the goal of it? Okay, so what's the goal of it? It's so that students can benefit from having a useful second language, obviously, like English, of course. I bet some of you are thinking, hey, I wish they would have started teaching me English in grade 1. Then I would be a lot more relaxed about IELTS. And maybe some of you did have that, and you're thinking, hey, that's great. I learned English early on. I'm quite confident with English. Now I just need to figure out how IELTS works so I can really maximize my score. How do we do it? Of course, we do it with formal training from teachers. Hopefully, they're native speakers of the language. If not, they're experts. So formal training from teachers who are experts in the language. Okay, and obviously through exercises and so on. So, controlling idea, is it better to learn the second language early or not? What is it? Well, that's what it is, right? So, do the students benefit more from starting to study at age 6, let's say from grade 1? Now let's get to this why question here, right? Regular practice, Rahul, is a good answer for that previous how. All right, so let's get to the why. Why would we want to start teaching a language to children from the age of 6 rather than from, let's say, 14 or 15? So Shanu Devgun says, well, because at early years, children can grasp new languages easily. Yeah, I definitely agree. This is where it's really important, especially for the why question of the controlling idea, to think about what 9 out of 10 people would say. Okay, so think about if you ask 10 people, why is it good to start teaching kids a second language right away as early as possible? What do you think most people would respond to that? And I'm sure one of the top answers would be what Shanu says, is that children acquire languages faster and more or easier before the age of 12. That's scientifically proven in a lot of situations. So that's definitely one. Okay. Now here we're thinking about the benefits, right? So we're thinking about the advantages. What could be another advantage of a child learning a language at such an early age? Okay, let's see what some of you wrote. Maybe some of you have included this answer. So what's another advantage? Rahul, that's, I think, a little bit off topic to say future perspectives, because that can even be after high school if somebody learns the language very well. So Jesus Garcia says, while the brain's more plastic, there's more plasticity. It's a very nice vocabulary, Jesus, which allows children faster acquisition of the language. That's great. Azine Awa, very nice. That's a great answer, and that's some good critical thinking. So Azine Awa says, well, it makes them more versatile. Absolutely, okay? Jeffrey says they can go abroad. That could be a third reason. So if they can grasp a language by high school, they can even go study abroad for high school, right? If I were going for a band 9 and I wanted to write 3 body paragraphs, I might include that, Jeffrey, for a third point. But I think Azine's point of making them versatile is a very good point to make. Of course, you know, I think all of you, that when you learn to speak another language, it actually improves your brain function and you become a better thinker in general. So learning another language not only is beneficial for speaking that language, but it also helps in other studies like math, chemistry, physics, history, because the brain is just better functioning the more languages that it speaks. That's also scientifically proven. So another advantage of learning at an early age is it allows children to enhance their overall mental abilities. Okay? So it's shown that children who grow up with 2 languages, they learn both of them or master them a little bit slower than children who are learning just one language, but then they often become much more able to perform in other studies as well, like math, sciences, and so on. Okay, before we jump to the how, don't forget the disadvantages part of the question. So the question is asking you, what are the disadvantages? So what would be a negative here? So why not? Let's focus on that for just a moment. Why would we say, hey, maybe it's not the best idea for children to learn a language at such an early age? So why not do this? Okay? So why not do that? Yusuf says there's too much workload. So kids have enough of a problem learning their first language and mastering communication in their own language. So it's not nice to say, good for you. Here's a second one thrown on top. Good luck with that. Too much demand on children, possible, takes time from other studies, like biology or history, for example. Okay. All right. And then, of course, the how. So how does this work? The how here is what Jesus said. The brain is more plastic for language learning. Plastic in this sense, or brain plasticity, means it's more flexible, it's more moldable, it's more adaptable, okay? So brain is more plastic for language learning at an early age. That's one how. Languages allow for dynamic thinking, which is useful in other fields or sciences, okay? Ew. All right. So that's the how. For the negative how, it takes time. Children are still working on their mother tongue. Okay, so we went into a fair bit of detail here. At home, I definitely recommend going to this level of detail when you're planning your essay. Now, if you find that that's taking you a lot of time, so 10 minutes, that's way too much. You only want to spend about 3 minutes on this, 3-4 minutes. However, when you're preparing for IELTS, you definitely want to go into this much detail so that when you get to IELTS, your brain can think about all of this, even if you don't write it down. It can generate the information so that you can use it in your essay, okay? And there were some really good reasons coming up there. It's Carm, Jesus Garcia, so those are some nice additions to the information that I've provided. All right, so you have all of this. Now you need to do what? Okay, so what's your next step? What do you do? What do you do after this? So you've visualized it, you've paraphrased the question, you have a good idea, you've collected vocabulary, you've gone through your critical thinking, you've targeted the right topic, controlling idea. And some of you are saying, go for the hook. Even before you go for the hook, Naveen, Jeffrey, Mohammed has the right answer. You want to target the thesis statement. So think about that thesis statement. That's your argument, right? So what you want to do next is your thesis statement. When you're practicing at home, this is absolutely the system that you want to use. So you create your thesis statement. All right. So what do you think? Is it better, or do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages of learning a foreign language in primary school rather than high school? So are you going to go for a yes, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, or are you going to go for a no, the disadvantages outweigh the advantages? So which one are you going to go for? Yeah, Azine, absolutely. The examiner's words should not be repeated. The question's words should not be repeated as much as possible. You do not want to just rewrite the question. That's absolutely true. So Mohammed says that, well, he agrees with the notion. Jignesh says, yep, the advantages are more. Benefits definitely outweigh the disadvantages, according to Kasra. Yeah, I think that's definitely the easier argument to make in this case. For many of the IELTS questions like this, it's generally fairly straightforward to identify which side is more or less. For some of them, it's a little bit more tricky, so you have to just choose a side and stick to it, okay? So please write a thesis for this question while I do the same, and let's see if we're on the same page. So let's see if your thesis is somewhat similar or maybe very similar to my thesis. Again, remember, a good thesis will make a great essay. A bad thesis will make a terrible essay, and it is definitely the divide between high band scores on the IELTS and low band scores on the IELTS. As I've said before to students, when I read the thesis statement of a student, I can almost tell exactly what kind of a band score the student will get just from the information, the grammar, and the quality of the thesis. I can pretty much pin down if it's a band 6, 6.57, okay? So I'll get you back on camera here. I know it's annoying. I will figure this out eventually. But again, write your thesis statements. It's a good little interruption here to have you thinking about a quality thesis statement for for this question. Okay? So buying you a little bit of time here while I get you back on camera. Okay, so my thesis would be something like this. Although some individuals may believe that there are more deficits to learning a second language early in school, I believe the advantages are more because children acquire foreign tongues more easily or easier at when they're preteen, and it helps them in their other studies. Okay, so a long thesis statement here for me. I know it's fairly complex. I'm showing you something that would get you a band 9 if you're going for that level. If you can't do it with this complex sentence, please don't try. So if you're making lots of grammar mistakes, don't do it, or try, but don't do it on the official IELTS. Do it in your class or do it here in our live stream and let me check it. Okay, I'll check some of yours. So Yusor Jafar says, in spite of its form, some burden on children's minds, it is beneficial. Its benefit is widely hide the negative effect. This can be explained by showing how youth can learn new languages easily, and it will improve. Yusor, there are a lot of grammar mistakes in there, confusing word choice. It's a long sentence, but I suggest doing something a bit more simple and clear, okay? That, Yusor, would get you a lot of problems in the IELTS Task 2. Roshni says, I believe that teaching a foreign language to children at primary school has more merits than disadvantages. And what are your points, Roshni? So what are your 2 points, okay? Pachu says, in my opinion, learning a foreign language is more advantageous at early stages of life because, okay, Pachu? And then it's better to write a direct thesis where you have 2 clear points so I can see what your body paragraphs will be about, all right? Murasa Baraki says, although learning a second language is not an easy task, it does help children for later studies. It's a good start, Murasa. There's some information missing there, and you're a little bit off of the actual question that's being asked here of studying it early in school, okay? Patricio says, although the early teaching has some negative side effects, I strongly support this initiative because children acquire foreign tongues easier when preteen, and it helps them in their other studies. Okay, so Patricia, yours is very similar to mine. If you were able to generate that on your own, absolutely a strong thesis, okay? Manisha Punya says, there is a tussle between the proponents and opponents of foreign language learning at an early age, but I believe the pros are more because, and then give me those 2 points. And don't refer to it as this question. It depends what you wrote previous in the introduction, but I suggest spelling out what you're actually referring to. Okay, good. So there's some good thesis statements there. I definitely think some of you need to work a little bit more on it. Again, start simple. You can break your thesis into 2 parts if you have to, all right? It doesn't have to be 1 sentence. It can be 2 sentences. But it should be clear, and you should have 2 clear points in your thesis for your 2 body paragraphs. So here, now we want to start the introductory paragraph. Okay, don't write intro in the official IELTS, just start writing. And then, of course, it starts with the hook. Again, don't write hook in parentheses, just write your hook. What would be a good hook? for this question. So a hook is really important. Some students say, my teacher told me a hook is not needed. I think it's a really good idea to include a hook. It helps you target your question, your topic, gets you focused, and it does have value for your reader. Your reader can identify what your topic is and get interested in what you're writing. So it's good to have a hook, okay? Karam, as I mentioned in the beginning of this lesson, yes, the question asks you for it. Task 2 questions say include explanations and examples from your experience and knowledge. So yes, include it, okay? Shanu Devgun, it's kind of off topic. Language is a first step for each child. Yeah, their mother tongue is their first step when they start learning it at the age of 1 or 2. So not quite on topic here. Try to think of another global fact that's interesting. Keep it simple, that targets foreign language learning at an early age, okay? Murasa says, in the revolution industry, foreign language plays an important role. I'm not sure what you're referring to with revolution industry. You might want to be a bit more clear with that. But you're kind of on the right path there. Roshni says, language is a powerful source of communication all over the world. Yeah, that's good. So you might want to add a little bit there, Roshni, to make it even better, say a second language or world languages or speaking world languages. Jeffrey says, most countries require schools to have classes for second language learning. Yes, that's good because now you're targeting second language learning in schools, right? Which is much closer to the topic. So I'll take that one. I always like to take some of the better hooks. I think that's one of the better hooks. So most schools or most government schools offer second language classes all around the world. Okay, so you can make a statement like that. It's fairly accurate. You're using most, not all, so it's not superlative. Most government schools offer second language classes all around the world. Okay, that right away tells your reader that you're talking about something to do with schools, second languages. So this essay will target something of this nature. Okay, it's a good hook. All right. Preeti, I also like your hook as well. Preeti Sinha, you say foreign languages are quintessential for survival in our global village or in this global village. I usually say avoid our and us, so this is good. This global village. That's also a good hook. Now, the next step, of course, is you want to give a background to this. So definitions and importance. And with this question, it's quite clear. So here you need a couple of sentences that explain what are you talking about exactly. So here's where you want to use some visual quantitative information. So what's your definition of foreign language learning early in school? And what is the importance of the question? Why are we discussing this question? So you want to write it. I think 2 sentences is enough for IELTS to cover the background of the question itself before you state your thesis, okay? So try to write the background. I'll do the same, and then we'll compare and see who's done what and if it's effective or not. It is scientifically proven that people acquire not only their first language, but also a foreign tongue much easier when learning it before the age of 12, okay? Now, you can kind of make up the facts. So if you say 10 instead of 12 or you say 14, that's fine. The IELTS people don't care about such details. It's the overall content that's important here. And then you can say whether or not it is best to do or to teach foreign language classes in primary school is a point of debate for many societies. Okay? As some believe that it takes time from other valuable subjects. Okay, we can even include that. So here I'm defining the importance of the question. Okay, so I'm defining the importance. Naveen says, although there are quite a few deficits of learning a foreign language at an early age, practicing in a second language at an early stage enhances the insight and future opportunities of pupils. Naveen, that's good. You have a little bit of repetition in there. That's a thesis statement, of course, not the background. You don't need to repeat early age and early stages. You can rewrite it a little bit. Foreign language, second language, again, a little bit of repetition there. So you might want to rephrase that, simplify it so you don't have so many repeating ideas, okay? All right, still let's see if we have some background information, okay? You definitely want to do background. Girls and guys, I still see a lot of students, just to sidetrack here a little bit, writing essays where they simply just paraphrase the question. Like they say, some people believe that the benefits or the merits of learning a foreign language in primary school outweigh the demerits. I believe that learning a second language at early stages is better. This essay will discuss some points on this. That's not a good introduction, okay? That's a very weak introduction, so I don't recommend writing in that style. Even if you manage to pull through on the IELTS with a 6.5, maybe even a 7 with that kind of writing, when you get into university, if you're studying abroad or if you're writing for a company in your work, that kind of writing will not earn you very good grades. In fact, your professors will probably say, hey, I think you need to really work on your writing to pass this class, okay? So be very careful with that kind of writing. I know it's taught, I know students do it, but it's not very effective, okay? And then, of course, the third part of your essay is simply your thesis. So all I'm going to do here, a little bit of a cheat, is copy paste it in here. Now, when you're doing the official IELTS and you get to that thesis stage of your planning, what you can actually do is skip 5-6 lines on the paper, on the task 2 paper in your answer sheet. Write your thesis directly onto your answer sheet, and then write your hook and your background into your thesis. So a little bit of a tricky thing. You might want to practice that at home first just so you can get your spacing right with the information. But you can do it so that you don't have to double up on your thesis, okay? All right, so there is the introduction. Here's my thesis. Let's see if anybody else has put up some background info there. Sunset Swallow says, these days, I would use these days instead of in our days, Sunset Swallow. These days, learning a foreign language is necessary for success in life, in work, and in travel. So to learn it at an early age is easier and faster. You're kind of going into your thesis there, Sunset Swallow, but I really like the first part of it where you're discussing the importance of the question, right? So here is my importance of the question. I like yours better, Sunset Swallow, so I'm going to replace mine with yours, all right? Thank you for that. So These days, mastering a world language is by adulthood is essential for success in work and travel. Absolutely. So it's almost a more simple sentence for the importance of this discussion, and it's better than what I wrote. Okay? So it's a good one there. All right. Here we go. So let's review our introduction, make sure it's good. Another place during your Task 2 essay in the IELTS where you might want to spend 30 extra seconds or sacrifice, quote unquote, 30 extra seconds is just to read your introduction. If you have a solid introduction, the examiner or the marker will likely give you a better score, even if you have a couple more mistakes in your body paragraphs and conclusions. If you have a strong start, that will definitely help the examiner identify that you're good at writing. So you want to make sure that your introductory paragraph is solid, okay? In university as well, the markers and the professors can generally judge the overall quality of the essay just by looking at the introduction, all right? So read the introduction and then go into your body paragraphs, okay? Jignesh, yeah, absolutely. It's your first impression. Your introduction is your first impression. So if you have a weak introduction, even if you have some solid body paragraphs, you might not get as good of a score as if you have a strong introduction with, hopefully not, but weaker body paragraphs. All right. Let's have a look at this. So most government schools offer second language classes all around the world. It is scientifically proven that people acquire not only their first language, but also a foreign tongue much easier when learning it before the age of 12. These days, mastering a world language by adulthood is essential for success in work and travel. Although some individuals believe there are more deficits to learning a second language early in school, I believe the advantages are more because children acquire foreign tongues easier when preteen, and it helps them in their other studies. Okay? So here we have 2 points. In this case, in the thesis, my 2 points are joined together with a coordinating conjunction and, since my second point is a full sentence. Okay? So my first point here is children acquire foreign tongues easier when preteen. That's my first point, and that's my first body paragraph, okay? And then my second body paragraph begins here. It's a full sentence as well. So here each point is a full sentence. It helps them in their other studies, okay? So that's my second point and my second body paragraph. Now I can get into writing the essay, and I can begin my body paragraph 1 with children acquire foreign tongues easier when preteen. Okay? Just fun. This intro is not that long. Okay? Let's see how many words it is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So that's 26. Let's say it's roughly 12 words per line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's, let's say, about 90 words for the introduction. I think it's a bit less. It's probably closer to about 80 words for the introduction. 80 is roughly 1/3 of 250. So this is about 1/3 of the minimum requirement. Now, that's the minimum requirement. Your introduction, if it's well written, should be roughly the same length as your body paragraphs, okay? Your body paragraphs might be a tiny bit longer. So if I have, let's say, 70, 80 words for the introduction, 80 words for body 1, 80 words for body 2, that's 240 roughly, let's say. And then a little bit of a shorter conclusion, so another 50 words. then where am I? I'm roughly at about 290, 300. If you're going for band 9s or band 8s or even 7.5s, your essay is closer to the 300 than the 250. The minimum task requirement is 250. Okay, it's 250. That's the absolute minimum. So you shouldn't be going for that minimum. You should be going for more. All right? A good introduction is not just a paraphrase of the question and saying this essay will discuss these points. All right? So you should be reaching for 300 for high band scores. All right. Here we go. And you'll learn that as well in university. So if you're planning to go to school, university in US or Canada or UK, you will realize that introductions are not just a couple lines, but they are a little bit more than that because they include all these essential elements to be effective. Okay? Our students, by the way, who do this and master these skills, send us emails and say that they got really good scores in their task 2s. So it's a proven strategy. I'm not just throwing it out there for you. All right, so let's start with body paragraph 1 here. Okay, so body 1. Body 1, of course, starts with a topic sentence. Go ahead, students. Think of a topic sentence. So your topic sentence should be an expansion, a detailed definition of your first point. The first point here is children acquire foreign tongues easier when preteen. Okay? So start your body paragraph 1 with a topic sentence. Of course, again, for those of you who are watching this for the first time, don't include topic sentence into your essay or these points. Just write. Okay? So give me a topic sentence that fits well for body paragraph 1. All right? Give me a topic sentence here. Let's see how many of you think of a clever topic sentence, and I'll give you a little bit of a hint here, a little bit of a help. Think about the negative of what we discussed as well. Remember from our planning that it's pressure, that it takes time from other studies. You might want to spin that into your topic sentence and then quickly switch over to the advantage. Okay, that's what I would do. Okay, so Murasa says picking points up of kids are sharp in early stages of life. Murasa, that's very awkward English. For a native speaker, it doesn't make much sense. So you need to simplify your language and make sure that you're using your words correctly. Word choice is very important, okay? So again, think of your topic sentence. Think about the negatives. Spin that in or weave it, put it in there somewhere into the topic sentence, and then switch it up to your first point. That's what I would do, okay? Ali, children have a fresh mind, full of energy, might be a good start, okay, but you definitely need to work on that. Jet Raj says, the brain of children are empty at early stage and they can learn foreign languages. I don't think their brains are empty. Hopefully they got some neurons moving around in there, but they're definitely more open to new knowledge, okay? Might be a little bit better way to phrase that, okay? Yusur Jafar, that's nice English. So youth's brain are like a sponge that absorbs information easily and accurately, especially languages. Good. Calvier, an elastic mind. That's also a good expression. But again, I would lead in with the deficit. So I would say something like this. Although it is added pressure for children to learn a second language early in school, their brains are much better wired to do this than later in life. Okay, so that would be my topic sentence. So again, notice what I'm doing here is I'm leading in with a disadvantage to show that I didn't forget that the question is asking me, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? I need to show the examiner that I haven't gone off track and I'm still respecting the precise question that they're asking me, okay? So right away, although it is added pressure for children to learn a second language early in school, comma, I know this as a Canadian. I grew up learning French because I lived in a Anglo-Saxon part of Canada, the western side, British Columbia. And we all have to learn French as it is our official second language in the country. Definitely, I remember that it was added pressure to learn that early on in school. However, I want to express to the reader here that the brains of children, their brains are much better wired to do this than later in life, okay? So let's see what else somebody has put up there. So learning a foreign language in early ages depends on the ability of the child. Sunset Swallow, that's really going off topic, I think. We're not talking about individual abilities of children here. The question is more general to early language learning. So you're going to get yourself into trouble if you start your body paragraph like that. For students that are joining in now or that missed some of the question, have a look at the stream description for the question, okay? Again, notice how I weave the negative side in there. So most of your responses, I see you just focusing on the positive and not really on the negative. Because I'm emphasizing that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, I don't want to spend too much effort and attention on the negatives. All I'm doing is putting just a little bit into the beginning of the paragraph, perhaps in the middle, but not spending too much time on that, okay? So, Preeti says, nowadays children have a heavy study load despite a second language in primary school is important for dynamic thinking and overall development. Preeti, I think you're just rephrasing the thesis. That's not the goal here. Here we're focusing on learning the language easier. Okay. Shanu says, although there are too much demand on children at early although there are too many demands on children at early ages in school, learning a second language brings many merits. Shanu, very importantly, don't have that word but in there. The although is already showing contrast. Two negatives make a positive. It's very confusing. So don't mix although with but. Be very careful. Naveen says, children may get stressed while learning a second language, but they can master but they can master it more easily. They can master it easier than at later stages. Absolutely. And of course, we know that language learning doesn't become easier or less stressful later in life either. Okay, good. So now, what comes after that? So what's my next step here? Jeffrey, children have more time for learning a second language early on than later in adulthood. That's very true, but that's not my thesis point. So if that's your thesis point, then that's what you write, okay? But that has to be clear in your thesis, that you think the advantages are more because children have more time to learn a second language. That's a different point that we haven't discussed. So if that's your thesis point, then that can be your topic sentence for the body paragraph. Make sure that there's a match. Otherwise, it's confusing for your reader, okay? And yes, Naveen, the next step here is the explanation. Okay? So here you can kind of make it up, right? I don't think I used this. Yeah. So children's brains develop to learn languages very quickly and effectively from the age of 2 or 1 until 12. Yeah, heard the camera shut off there, so just give me 1 second. Get you back on board. Think about your explanations, students. So think about good quantitative explanations here for this argument, okay? So think about how you can explain this easy language learning. Now, this is what I'm writing. So children's brains develop to learn languages very quickly and effectively from the age of 1 until 12. It is also true that this ability quickly diminishes after age 13. Therefore, it makes logical sense that schools begin teaching a foreign tongue from grade 1. Okay, so that is my explanation for this. So children's brains develop to learn languages very quickly and effectively from age 1 until 12. I go one step further, explain that it's more difficult later in life. It is also true that this ability quickly diminishes after age 13. Diminishes means starts to disappear or degrades, decreases. Therefore, it makes logical sense that schools begin teaching a foreign tongue from grade 1, okay? And then what comes next? Okay. Meanwhile, I will read some of your explanations. So Shafbin Zoeb says there are some particular advantages and disadvantages of learning a new foreign language at an early age. However, in my opinion, learning a foreign language at primary school is more beneficial. That sounds like a thesis statement, Shabin, not like a topic sentence or explanation. Make sure that you're clear on those differences. Yes, Preeti, Shanu, Muhammad, the example comes next. And we'll get there in a second. You can start thinking of your examples. Vegan Jeffrey says, it is approved at an early age that memory stays longer. Hence, it's beneficial for language learning. Very good explanation, Jeffrey. So targeting memory, right? What does language learning require? It requires good memory. When is memory the strongest? Memory is arguably the strongest, especially long-term memory. It's called long-term potentiation, but you don't need to get that technical. It's much, much more effective at an early age. So that's a great explanation, Jeffrey. The younger children are, the better memory they have, and this is beneficial for learning a language. It's very good. The learning capacity of kids are more powerful at an early age. Murasa, that was a good start. Okay. Sunset Swallow says children's minds might be sometimes saturated when studying other materials, but by the time it'll give them more brain strength and it'll be easier. Sunset Swallow, 2 points. Don't use contractions in task 2. So it will, don't contract it, don't say it'll. And then the other point is don't use the future participle will. Keep it in present tense. The question is asking for a general piece of information, so the essay should be in present tense, okay? Present tense, not future. All right, Shabin, that sounds like the importance of the question for the introduction, not for the body paragraph, okay? So here's the example. All right, and I'll just make one up here very quickly. One of my brothers, John, started to learn French in grade 1, but my other brother, Tom, only started French in grade 10. I can certainly say that John learned French much faster and better than Tom. So this proves that learning languages earlier is easier. Okay? So just something like that. Make up your own example as well. I'm looking for examples. Yes, Jashkaran. Personal examples are valid. I'm going to repeat this for the third or fourth time in the video. The question, forget about what your teacher says. Forget about what I say. The question, if this is the one and only point that many of you learn from this class, I'm already satisfied. The question says, give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. When the question says that, which is 9 out of 10 on the IELTS, you need to include relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience, okay? All right. So back to the point here. That is the example for body paragraph 1. Thanks, Naveen. Yeah, so visualize it, right? You want to compare somebody who's learning a language early versus somebody who's learning late. You might even include something, Naveen, like although both of them felt a lot of pressure learning a second language, because somebody in grade 10 will feel pressure learning a language just the same as somebody in grade 1, okay? These are not my actual brothers' names, although I do have 2 of them. So what comes after the example? And in this case, it's very good to include this. Anybody know what's after the example? So I've given an example. It clearly backs up my explanation. What should come after that? So Naveen says some kind of a concluding, connecting sentence, right? Absolutely. So concluding, connecting sentence. Now in this one, you need to think of a good concluding and connecting sentence. Again, for this type of question, this is where you can really reflect the specifics of the question. So here I can state something like, this is one clear proof of the advantages of early language education being more than the deficits. Okay, and then you can start your body paragraph 2 off by this kind of a sentence, and this is why this connecting sentence for this specific question is so good, because it allows you to do this. Another reason for more benefits to, and then I'm going to leave you off with that to do for homework, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is, now that I think you have the right idea, you can write the body paragraph 2. I'll leave the conclusion to you. If you don't know how to write a good conclusion, look at some of the other Task 2 lessons on the website or on the YouTube channel that explain how to write a strong conclusion. For body paragraph 2, you want to follow the same structure as for body paragraph 1, but of course, you want to focus on this second point, which is it helps them in their other studies. Something like, hey, if I learn to speak English in primary school, it's going to help me Google information in English on the internet, which provides me with a lot more information. Okay, so I gave you a little bit of a hint or a tip there to include, but There are lots of different ways to write an effective body paragraph too. As long as you explain this point clearly, give a strong example for it, you will do well, okay? And then a conclusion. Again, if you don't know how to write a conclusion, look at some of the other videos. All right, so let's just read body paragraph 1, make sure that it makes sense, and then we'll wrap up this class. So, although it has added pressure for children to learn a second language early in school, their brains are much better wired to do this than later in life. Children's brains develop to learn languages very quickly and effectively from the age of 1 until 12. It is also true that this ability quickly diminishes after age 13. Therefore, it makes logical sense that schools begin teaching a foreign tongue from grade 1. One of my brothers, John, started to learn French in grade 1. My other brother, Tom, only started French in grade 10. I can certainly say that John learned French much faster and better than Tom, so this proves that learning languages earlier is easier. This is one clear proof of the advantages of early language education being more than the deficits, okay? So that is the right approach to IELTS Task 2, especially for students who are going for those high band scores. For general IELTS, students who are looking to get those express visas where high IELTS band scores matter. For students who are looking to do their master's, their PhD studies abroad, it absolutely matters. You need to have the right information, the right structure for your Task 2 essay. This is it. This is what you need to do. This is what university will demand. This is what a lot of professional work demands for you to know as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this class and this Task 2 example. This will be up on the channel for a few days, around a week, and then it will retire to our websites with our other 100 videos. We have all of our live sessions being uploaded this week as well that are no longer on the YouTube channel. So if you want to catch all of our videos, you want to maximize your learning, you want to give yourself the best chance not to have to repeat the IELTS exam and pay that $300, pay just a little bit of money. Go to aehelp.com for academic IELTS, gltshelp.com for general IELTS. Sign up for the full course. Learn and practice the right strategies. Be proud of yourself. Pass the exam and get on to the next step in life and school. Thank you so much, everyone, again for watching. You're all awesome. You all have beautiful brains. Always believe in yourself. Never let people pull you down or tell you that you can't. Never think that way. Pessimism is not good. Be an optimist. And I will catch you tomorrow for a class on speaking. We'll be looking at a part 2 example, and it will be the same time as today. So have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Good studies. Have a great night if it's late in your country. Sweet dreams if you're getting ready for bed. Bye for now.